A tip to heat milk at a high temp without scorching it. Howdy folks, I am Martha and I welcome you to Hershberger's Miracle Homestead. You can see I'm in the kitchen, so we're going to be having some kitchen action. We knew that sometime we are going to do a video on tapioca. We just didn't know when. This dish has a lot of special meaning to us. And Dorothy saw that July the 15th, which is Saturday when we're posting this, is National Tapioca Day. So happy National Tapioca Day. Why is this dish special to us? Go back in time. Mom. This is a dish she loved, and I remember her telling us stories of when she was a little girl and playing house and working in the kitchen. She had her playthings there, and in her mind she's making tapioca. And I asked Dorothy if there's any special memories connected with this, and I found out something I didn't realize. At their wedding, they were Amish Mennonite, and one tradition they had then was at the reception, at the meal, in addition to the food you serve everybody else, you prepare a food that is special and only for the bridal table. And Mom chose tapioca as a specialty food to serve to the bridal table along with the other food. I had not known that, so that was something neat to learn. So there's many a time that we saw Mom standing over the stove stirring this tapioca so it wouldn't scorch on the bottom. And I told her that, Mom, if life takes the course that it often does, I will be here after you're gone, and I want to know how you make your tapioca. And I grabbed a scratched piece of paper, I wrote it down, and it's still on that scratched piece of paper. And she uses a whole box of tapioca because if we can't eat it all ourselves, she'll give some away. Then along with the tapioca, you need milk, sugar, eggs, and vanilla. The amount of tapioca we're making, it takes a gallon of milk on a cold burner. Put in 3/4 of the milk. You need some milk saved back to mix in with the tapioca and sugar and get that ready to add to it when it's needed. And you can guess approximately 3/4. Now, a tip to heat milk at a high temp without scorching it. Before you turn your burner on, take half of the sugar, or at least until the bottom is coated with sugar. Now I like to put about half of it in, and it'll settle to the bottom and give a coating. Then and only then do you turn the burner on. You can turn the burner on high. I'm going to put it on high. Now the tip, do not stir it. Once you stir it, you have to keep stirring. So do not stir it, and it will be fine. So while that is doing its thing, I'm going to put the rest of the milk in here. The eggs, you have to separate the whites from the yolks. The yolks will end up in the milk, but just to ensure I don't get any shells in it, I'm going to put them in here. The whites will go in the mixing bowl. And now I can dump that in the milk. And you'll want the eggs room temperature. If a little bit of a shell gets in the egg white, I'll be able to see it. But once I drop the egg down in the milk, that would be difficult to see an egg shell if I would happen to get it in there. And I like to have a flat turner to be able to stir it then once we actually get to that point. All right, let me finish up that. Get the egg yolks and the milk incorporated good together. Now you can add the rest of the sugar and the star of the show, the tapioca. Dumping the whole box in there, and now just stir this up good. Then I like to have a spatula, and before you actually dump it in here, when the time is right, you will want to stir it good to make sure anything settled to the bottom is stirred up and into the mixture good. Now we'll be beating up the egg whites. Put the egg whites in here because the hot tapioca will be poured over that then. I'm going to move the egg whites over on the other countertop until we're ready for them. And I don't know that it's necessary, but since it'll be hot, I'm putting this on a hot pad. For some reason, I always do that. I don't know if it's necessary or not, but I do it. Now I'm going to pull you in closer to the burner so you can see the action going on. Now remember, I have not stirred it at all yet. You can know the heat is there if you listen to the sound now. And once I put the cold in, that sound is going to go away. Now's the time to put it in. I'll let it run over my spatula to keep it from splashing so bad. The noise you heard a minute ago, I do not hear at all. So now is the time to start stirring. And let me show you here. No sign of scorching on the spatula. And that was on high the entire time. So you want to keep stirring this, starting to boil. Stirring constantly or it will stick and it can scorch. I'll turn the heat down just a little bit, but it'll still be on a high heat, but not high. Do you notice anything unique about this kettle? Here's where a handle was, and on the other side is where a handle was. If you haven't guessed by now, it was my mama's. I love this kettle, and if it was good enough for her, it's good enough for me. Yeah, I have to keep stirring all over the bottom. I can feel a place or two that would love to stick if I don't keep on top of it. And many a time in Mom's latter years, she would be standing here stirring. It would be getting slower and slower. And that was because she was fighting sleep. So I just started getting the second spatula and going in there and helping her. But she wanted to be involved. And while we're stirring up the tapioca, I have another little memory to tell you. Mom and Dad never went on a honeymoon. So at the 35th anniversary, we had a small family celebration, inviting a few other friends in. And then after the evening, we sent them on their way for an anniversary trip. Well, a honeymoon versus an anniversary trip, fast forward it to 35 years, there were 7 children, which we were adults, but they had their buddy. And Mom just had a hard time pulling herself away. She knew Buddy would be well cared for, but her mama heart just wanted to be there, taking care of him herself. But she thought she'll do it. Well, as the story goes, Dad was so absolutely excited. And as they were getting ready to leave the school parking lot there to head out for their little trip, he says, "Anna, we ought to drive the other direction and throw them off as to what direction we're going to actually go." He thought that'd be the funnest thing to do. But then what was so neat is the next morning they were sitting in at Waffle House eating their breakfast, and this gentleman comes up to them. They didn't know him at all, never met him before, but he said, "The Lord is prompting me to tell you to relax, enjoy yourself, everything's going to be all right." And that just meant the world and all to Mom. It did, it just, yeah. And thankfully that gentleman followed the prompting of the Spirit to relay that message on to them. And they did. They had a good time together. We had an anniversary cake for them and just had a nice little evening. So I'll insert a picture of them at their 35th anniversary. Okay, I'm going to quit stirring just to see what's happening if I'm not stirring. There is a soft boil there. At this point, it shouldn't take that much longer. Okay, got the burner off and remove it from the heat, and I'm putting it over on the other counter. We'll have better room to work. Very carefully pick it up. Now, while the pudding is still hot, add your vanilla. Stir it in good. Now is the time to dip the tapioca into the egg whites. Now's the time to put the tapioca into the egg whites. This is a hot tapioca, still steaming hot. Once some of it's out and the isn't quite as heavy, I will pour it in. But this helps to lighten my load. And to pour this in. Mix, mix, mix. Get all those egg whites worked into the tapioca. Tapioca is good several different ways. Some like it when it's hot. Others like it when it's warm, which that's me. I can come back in an hour or so after the main heat is out and enjoy some tapioca. And then the way most of this will be eaten is after it's completely cooled, but not in the refrigerator. Add Cool Whip to it. At least take some of it out and add Cool Whip to it. If you wait till has been in the refrigerator, then it's harder to stir it up. But if you do it when it's completely cool, but not refrigerator cold, it'll be easier mix. I guess this is what you call deflating the egg whites. And now here's another trick when you have a hot milk pudding that's cooling. Take saran wrap or a film, put it directly down on the pudding, whatever is cooling. This time it happens to be tapioca. And it will prevent a skin from forming. All right, I will be back once this is cooled and we're ready to do the next step to it. The tapioca is as it should be right now, but to make it light and fluffy, we're going to be adding Cool Whip. And it takes a lot. I have a part container here that's just a little bit in, so we're going to empty this out first. Do about half of this one once, and then I can always add more. Alrighty, just give this a toss in here. As I was emptying out those Cool Whip containers, I thought of another story that's related to Mom and her married sons and their wives. Mom and Dad absolutely loved when they came home with the grandchildren. And Mom loved cooking. And she'd save Cool Whip containers. Depending what she was going to be making when they came home, she always made an over and abundance of what she needed. And then a Cool Whip container filled with leftovers would be sent home with them. And then the daughter-in-laws would save the Cool Whip containers to bring them back the next time to be filled up. So to this day, even though Mom isn't here anymore, every once in a while they mention something about the Cool Whip containers. All right, I definitely want any more than that. One of my favorite things to eat with tapioca is chocolate cake. That is so, so good with tapioca fixed like this. This takes elbow grease. Have you heard that expression? It takes elbow grease to do something? That's what I feel like this takes, is elbow grease. I like for it to be light and fluffy, and actually I think I'm going to get into another one. Let me get it out of the fridge. So for a full box of tapioca, except, remember I said some people like it hot and others like it warm? So not all the tapioca made it to this point, because we took advantage of it and ate it like we like it before we put Cool Whip to it. Clean the edge up here a little bit, and then if I need to, I can just put tapioca right back into the Cool Whip containers. Dad loves sliced pineapple chunks in his tapioca. And I just thought I'd tell you about it and not put it in because we don't really care for it that way. And then we can use this to make a pineapple and cheese sandwich for Buddy. See how light and fluffy that is compared to what it was when we started? This is a Cool Whip container we just emptied out. So I will put some in here. So here we have it, folks. Tapioca in memory of our parents and in honor of National Tapioca Day. Hope you've enjoyed some of the memories we've shared, giving the reason why this dish is a special dish to us. Thank you for joining me in the kitchen today. We hope you've enjoyed the video. Now we invite you to stay tuned for the Golden Thought. Hi, and welcome to the Golden Thought of this episode. We are the twins, Marvin and Martha. Marvin is better known as Buddy. The quote for today is inspired by a place where we buy our dog food. I love supporting businesses that promote the gospel. This is a country feed and seed store. And the gentleman there shared this on Facebook. And I saved it because I wanted to share it here sometime. The church is not a place where perfect people gather to say perfect things or have perfect thoughts or have perfect feelings. The church is a place where imperfect people gather to provide encouragement, support, and service to each other. And that's powerful, being a part of the body of Christ, gathering every week with fellow Christians, fellow believers in Jesus, just to encourage each other and to support and be of service to each other. So I was encouraged by this little saying again. We are an imperfect people, but as we come together, we can encourage each other to press forward. There's a prize waiting with eternal rewards at the end of this journey. We thank you for joining us. Hope you've been blessed and inspired. If you have, I just ask you to like the video and share it and subscribe. And with that, we'll bring this to a close. Thank you and God bless.